Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Cedar Fair versus Six Flags versus SeaWorld. Today I'm going to be taking what I consider their top two parks and putting them in a battle against each other. We're going to start off with Cedar Fair and Kings Island. The rules for the battle is we're only going to look at coasters, and each park gets one of their defunct coasters. For Kings Island, we have Orion, the B&M Giga. This is the best ride in the park, one of the better rides in the world, probably a top 20 coaster in the world on most people's list. This is a great ride. I think it might be better than most rides that Six Flags or SeaWorld has. Then we have the Beast, the classic. It's a little rough in spots, but it's gotten a lot better over the years. That helix at the end, super intense, but it does have boring moments. Diamondback, airtime machine, probably the best hyper in the world. Nothing at SeaWorld probably beats it. Some rides at SeaWorld beats it, but no hyper is beating this ride that is not a hybrid. The Racer. This is a classic wooden roller coaster. Not that great nowadays, but it has okay airtime. It's a little rough, but it's getting better with retracts that Kings Island does often. Mystic Timbers. This is one of the better rides at Kings Island. This is a GCI wooden roller coaster, probably the best one in the world. No SeaWorld GCI or any GCI will compete against this. Banshee at Kings Island. This is the best invert. I don't care what you say. I haven't been on many, but I would just say this one's the best. It's one of the newer ones. It's the longest. It's really fast. It's got a good element. It's got a good drop. It's just great. Adventure Express hurts. It hurts a lot. So like, I really could care less for this ride. I don't really care. Okay, Flight of Fear is a great launch. No, I hate this ride. It's like a okay launch coaster. The launch isn't great. It doesn't really have good elements, and the mid-course just slows the ride down so much. So this one really isn't that great for Kings Island. The Bat. The Bat is a aero suspended coaster, and this ride is so fun. It's tucked away in the back of the park in the woods. It's a lot more fun, and not many people ride it, so it normally has a short line. So I think you would all enjoy it. And Vertigo is a Vekoma boomerang. This is an inverted boomerang. It's a good, intense ride. It's just short, has a long line, and has bad capacity. Now we're gonna go to Cedar Point. Cedar Point has Millennium Force. This is a intimate giga coaster, and unlike Orion that has airtime, Millennium Force has airtime, but not as much as Orion, and it mainly focuses on Outer Banks. So I think Orion might be better than Millennium Force, but I still think that Millennium Force is probably a good ride. Now we're gonna get Valraven. This is like a 200-foot dive coaster. This ride's probably super intense, probably one of the better rides at Cedar Point, and I think this one will be high on my list when I finally get to ride it, and I'm hoping this summer. Now we're going to talk about Maverick. This is one of the best rides in the world. Some people have this thing all the way up at number 1. I don't think it will be that high, but I think it has good whip and great elements. And then now we're going to talk about Gemini. Gemini is an older ride, and I've heard it still gives a pretty good ride for its age, and I've heard it's a decent little ride with decent airtime. And then we're going to get to Magnum XL 200. This is an aero hyper. I don't think this one is as good as Diamondback, but I've heard that it does have good airtime, and I think it could be a good ride. Now we're going to get to Gatekeeper. This is a B&M wing coaster. It's a great ride, I think it will be, and it has a good setting over the front entrance. It is a long ride. Regular Rogue Aru is not a great ride. It used to be a B&M stand-up called Mantis. Now it's a floorless. Kind of has a boring layout, a short layout, I've heard, so I don't think it's that great. Now it's Iron Dragon. This is the worst of the aero suspended coasters. The Bat is definitely the better ride overall. It still looked okay, but it looks more family oriented and less intense than the Bat actually is right now. Now we're going to talk about Corkscrew. I've heard this ride runs rough. It's getting up there in age, and I think it could be a decent ride, but I think it's like an aero coaster, so I kind of know what I'm going to expect. It's a smaller aero. I don't think it will be that great, but I think it will be like okay. And then finally, I still count this as a roller coaster in their lineup. We're going with Top Thrill Dragster. I consider this still part of their lineup for one reason and one reason only. I think that this will open in some fashion with the name Top Thrill Dragster. I think this will be one of the better rides in the park when it reopens. And then let's talk about the defunct coasters. For Kings Island, I picked Son of Beast, the 218-foot wooden roller coaster with a 78-mile-per-hour drop, and we're going with this ride from 2000 to 2006 when it had the loop. World's tallest, fastest one roller coaster, obviously. Okay, and then for Cedar Point, I picked Wicked Twister. If Dragster was defunct, I would have picked Top Throw, but Wicked Twister seemed like it gave a decent ride, and I wish I could have rode it. Save the best for last. Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. I heard this is the best coaster in the world, and I'm gonna go with it probably is. Steel Vengeance is a RMC hybrid, and it was built to be the best coaster in the world, and I've heard from many people it is. Now let's move on to Six Flags. For Six Flags, I went with Six Flags Magic Mountain and Six Flags Great America. These are both great parks and include great coasters. Let's start with Six Flags Magic Mountain. Six Flags Magic Mountain has X2, which is an Aero 4th Dimension coaster. This opened as originally as X, but had so many mechanical problems they closed the ride to rebuild it and make improvements, and now it's X2. I've heard this is one of the most intense roller coasters on the planet, but I have heard it runs rough. Now let's get to Goliath. I've heard that this is intense and has good twister sections, and I've also heard it's boring, but I don't know. It has no airtime, it doesn't really have any airtime, and it's probably one of the worst hypers. Now let's get to Tattoo. I've heard that this is one of the most intense coasters as well. This is a B&M Flyer, and I've heard this is a great ride, minus that pretzel loop that tries to rip your head off, apparently. Now let's get to their newest coaster, Wonder Woman Flight of Courage. This is an RMC Raptor, and I think you know what to expect with a Raptor. Whip, airtime, ejector, inversions. Yeah, you know what a Raptor is. Now let's get to Revolution. This is their classic, so corkscrew. And it has a vertical loop, and it's perfect with its terrain. It uses its terrain very well, unlike corkscrew. Now let's get to West Coast Racers. This is a premier launch coaster. I've heard it's kind of intense, but I've heard that the restraints suck and the trains suck. So, I don't think this is one of the best rides at the park. I think it's just an okay supporting coaster. The Riddler's Revenge is a stand-up, so not that great. I've heard it's one of the better stand-ups left, but who knows, it's a stand-up, yeah. Twisted Colossus is one of the best rides in the world. This is an RMC hybrid, and I think that this is probably one of the better hybrids, but it's not Steel Vengeance. Let's get to Superman Escape from Krypton. This ride, you literally just go up, drop down, and then it's over. You hit 100 miles an hour, but it's not like Dragster where it's super intense. Now let's get to Scream. Scream is a B&M floorless. I've heard this is one of the worst rides and has a very bad B&M rattle. Viper, I've heard this is one of the better aero loopers left. I've heard it's very well taken care of. Ninja is a aero suspended coaster. I've heard this is not a great ride, but I'm not really sure. Okay. Now Six Flags Great America has Raging Bull. This is a B&M Hyper. It's Twister Hyper, still a great ride, has some airtime. It just mixes it up really well. Goliath is my #1 coaster right now. I haven't been on many, but Goliath is a great ride, has airtime, good inversions. Yeah, just a good ride. Batman the Ride is a B&M invert, the first Batman clone. I think this is a good ride, and I think that it is definitely up there. It's my number 9 coaster, and I think that it provides a good ride. Next is Viper. This is a clone of the Coney Island Cyclone. I've heard it has good airtime, but I thought it was kind of rough and not that enjoyable, but I've heard it has good airtime, and sometimes they run the train backwards, so I think that could be fun. Let's get to X-Flight. X-Flight is a B&M wing coaster. This is my number 10 coaster. It provides a good ride overall, and I think that it's a good ride, has good near-miss elements, and great inversions. American Eagle is a wooden racing coaster, and only one train runs now. I've heard it runs rough, and there's a lot of rumors about it, if it's getting new trains, getting RMC'd, so I don't really know what's going to happen with it. Next is a Flash Vertical Velocity. This is a intimate impulse, and you know what an impulse is. It's not a great ride, but it's a decent ride for a park. Next is Demon. Demon is an air looper, and it hurt a lot. I hit my head a few times on the restraints. It's just not a great ride. It runs rough, and you can tell. Next is the Joker. This is an S&S Free Spin. These are all over Six Flags chains. You know what they are. You know what they're like. Yeah. Next is Superman Ultimate Flight. This is also a B&M flyer, but I'm assuming that Tatsu is probably better. But overall, this still provides a great ride, and it's just outside my top 10. And for their defunct coasters, for Magic Mountain, I picked Deja Vu, because Airtime Thrill said it was a good ride when it was at Magic Mountain. Next, I picked Z-Force for Six Flags Great America. I heard some good things about this ride when it was at Great America. And fun fact, this ride also operated at Magic Mountain. Now to the final chain, SeaWorld. SeaWorld, I picked Busch Gardens Tampa Bay and SeaWorld Orlando. Busch Gardens Tampa has SheiKra, which looks like a fun ride, but not as good as any at Kings Island or Cedar Point or either Six Flags Parks. Iron Gwazi is one of the best rides in the world, and probably second in the world right now. Cheetah Hunt is kind of like a family ride, and it's kind of like a family launch coaster. Kumba is a decent early launch coaster by B&M, I'm pretty sure. Cobra's Curse kind of looks like a family ride from the pictures I looked at. It looks okay. Montu is a B&M invert. It looks fun. Tigris is a Skyrocket 2. These models are fun, but they're not great. And Scorpion looks like a simple looping coaster. It looks okay, but not great. Okay, now let's get to SeaWorld Orlando, and they have less coasters than I thought. These are the ones I found. They have Icebreaker, which is kind of like a family launch coaster, just like Cheetah Hunt. They have Mako, which is a B&M Hyper. B&M Hypers are awesome. You can never go wrong with a B&M Hyper. That's from Theme Park Crazy. Kraken is a B&M floorless. I've heard one of the best in the world, but it's still floorless. Montu is a B&M flyer. These are fun rides, but they're not the best. And then Pipeline is their new for 2023 ride that I put on here. And it looks okay, but it's a stand-up, so I don't see it being very popular. Now let's get to the defunct coasters. Python at Busch Gardens Tampa. It looked like an okay ride, just a classic ride. It looked fun, but not great. And then Sea Viper, same story. Basically a classic with inversions and just not that great of looking of a ride. Now let's talk about which park / chain won. So the best park on this list I think goes to Cedar Point or Kings Island. These are both great run parks. Now Kings Island doesn't have near the coaster collection of Cedar Point or Magic Mountain, but they're definitely getting up there, and I think in the next few years you'll be saying that Kings Island does have that caliber of a collection. Now let's get to the best chain. I think first goes to Cedar Fair. I think this is one of the best run chains in the world, if not the best, and Cedar Point and Kings Island are the two best parks. And now let's get to second place, which is Six Flags. Six Flags Magic Mountain is one of the better parks in the world, but Six Flags parks, from my experience, aren't that greatly run. Six Flags Great America was a good park, but it wasn't greatly run. The operations weren't great. The dispatches were slow. And I'm kind of mad at the park because it rained that day, and I had to wait like an hour and a half because X-Flight shut down. Okay, now SeaWorld comes in third, but this could change in the future. Busch Gardens Tampa and SeaWorld Orlando are both growing parks, and I see this changing over the time. Bye guys, that's it for this video.